All right, let's just get right into it. If you're in your 40s, maybe your late 30s, and you kind of peek at your retirement account, do you ever get that sinking feeling? You know that little voice in your head that whispers, it's too late for you. You've missed the boat. Well, let me tell you, if you feel that way, you are definitely not alone. I want to tell you about someone I know. We'll call her Patricia. She's 43, she just landed this huge promotion, and for the first time, she's making really good money. But instead of being thrilled, she just felt defeated. She was totally convinced that her financial story was already finished and, spoiler alert, the ending wasn't good. That feeling she has, it's practically an epidemic. But here's the thing. What if Patricia's wrong? What if all that advice we've been fed for decades, the start saving in your 20s or you're doomed stuff? What if, while it means well, it's just incomplete? What if that advice is actually paralyzing the very people it's supposed to be helping? Oh, we have all seen these charts, right? They always have person A who starts early, invests a little, and just cruises to a multi-million-dollar retirement thanks to the magic of compound interest. The message is crystal clear. Start young or get left in the dust. But there is a massive, glaring flaw in this entire story. This right here, this is where the whole myth just completely falls apart. See, those charts, they almost always assume a 25-year-old is socking away something like $500 a month. But in the real world, a Bank of America study found that the average American in their 20s saves closer to $247 a month. Think about that. It's less than half the mythical amount. And that changes everything. And this chart, well, this shows you exactly why. Just look at that income gap. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median income for someone in their peak earning years, say 45 to 54, is nearly double what a 20-something is making. Yet those classic compound interest charts just pretend their ability to save is the same. It's just not based in reality at all. So here's the main takeaway. If you didn't save a ton of money in your 20s, it's probably not because you were lazy or undisciplined. It's because you were busy dealing with student loans, entry-level paychecks, and the insane cost of just, setting up your adult life. It wasn't a character flaw. It was simply a math problem. Okay, so let's run a more realistic scenario. Let's meet early Emma. She does everything by the book. Starts at 25. She's super consistent. But because she's a realistic 25-year-old with rent and student loans, she can only manage to invest about $200 a month. Now let's meet late start Linda. Linda didn't really invest in her 20s or 30s. Life was just too chaotic. But when she finally gets going at age 40, her income is way higher, and she can put away $1,500 a month. Now remember, she's starting 15 full years later than Emma, but she's coming in with a lot more financial firepower. And here's the result that should change how you think about everything. Emma, our perfect early starter, she ends up with a very respectable $525,000, and that's fantastic. That's that compound interest we always hear about. But look at Linda. Despite starting 15 years later, she ends up with over $1.1 million, more than double Emma's entire portfolio. So how is that even possible? Just let that number sink in for a second. Linda started so much later. She invested for 15 fewer years and still crushed it. This isn't some kind of financial trick. This is the unbelievable power of combining a long runway for growth with high-powered contributions. This brings us to the most important concept here, contribution intensity. It's just the brute force of how much cash you can actually put to work every single month. And for most of us, that power, it doesn't really kick in until we hit our peak earning years in our 40s and 50s. This right here is your superpower. The problem with hammering the start early message over and over is that it creates what psychologists call learned helplessness. People feel like they've already lost the game before they even start, so they don't even bother to play. They think, well, what's the point now? And so they do nothing, which of course is the only guaranteed way to fail. Now, this timeline explains exactly why this happens. Your 20s are for building a foundation, and yeah, usually a lot of debt. Your 30s, that's often peak spending, a mortgage, kids, all of it. But your 40s, that is so often the sweet spot. Your income is near its peak, but those giant startup life expenses have started to level off. For the first time, you have a real, meaningful gap between what you earn and what you spend. And hey, the data totally backs this up. A big analysis by Fidelity found that 401k balances grow the absolute fastest between the ages of 40 and 55. And look at this chart. The biggest driver of that incredible growth isn't market returns. It's the sheer volume of money you are finally able to contribute. And if that wasn't enough, there's another hidden advantage you have. The government, they actually know this is how life usually works. And they've built benefits for people who start later right into the tax code itself. As soon as you turn 50, you unlock something called catch-up contributions. This means you can stuff an extra $7,500 into your 401k and an extra $1,000 into your IRA every single year. Now, why would they create these rules if it was truly too late? The answer is they wouldn't. They exist precisely because they know how incredibly powerful your contribution intensity is in your 50s and 60s. Okay, so what do we do with all this? It's pretty straightforward. First, stop the guilt. Seriously, you cannot change the past. Focus on the power you have right now. Second, get aggressive. Maximize that contribution intensity. Third, optimize your spending. Do whatever you can to widen that gap between income and expenses. And fourth, don't get scared and pull all your money out of the market. You probably still have a 20+ year time horizon. You need that growth. I really want you to reframe how you're thinking about your age. Your 40s and 50s aren't the final chapter of your wealth building story. For so many people, this is when the real journey begins. That combination of peak income, more stable expenses, and a clear focus, it's an incredibly potent mix. So please stop telling yourself you should have started earlier as an excuse not to start today. The game is so far from over. It is not too late. It's just time to recognize the incredible power you have right at this moment and get serious about using it.